Hi, welcome to Fostering Resilience. In today's video, I'm sharing with you a very special From the Vault video, which is a video that is one of the first that I filmed when I first began my channel back in 2018. So it's a bit grainy. There's some ambient noise, like a dog barking in the background, because I used to film on my back patio of my old house, and also I just started the channel, so I didn't really know much about, I was just filming and doing the best that I could, and I've enhanced the video so that it'll be more enjoyable, and I think that the message is still an important one. So that's why I'm choosing to share it with you again, new and improved. So it covers a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. It's a topic that I covered in my own research, my dissertation for my PhD, which was on shame and the impact of shame on addiction, specifically addiction recovery and success rates. So I feel like the information in this video is still really relevant and important for people to know and to understand. So whether you're new to my channel or you've been a part of the journey from the very beginning, I invite you to lean in and take whatever resonates, and remember, healing is possible. Let's dive in.
My name is KJ Foster, and today I am talking about shame and shame triggers as a part of my series on relapse prevention. Specifically, what is shame? Why is it important for me to know about shame? What are shame triggers? What can I do about my shame? And then stick around for the end of this video because you won't want to miss important information that I have on shame as the result of my research that I recently conducted on shame. So first of all, what is shame? People have a tendency to use the words guilt and shame interchangeably, but the easiest and simplest way to distinguish between what is guilt and what is shame is guilt is I've done something wrong or I've done something that I feel bad about, whereas shame is I am bad, I am wrong. It's very much about the self and how we view ourselves. And so why is this important to know about in regards to addiction? It's hugely important to understand because number one, guilt actually can be beneficial in helping people to seek treatment. So often when we feel bad about things that we've done or what we're doing as the result of our addiction, that helps us to want to do something about it. Whereas shame can work and does often work the exact opposite. So think of it this way. There are a lot of people who actually develop an addiction as the result of feeling a lot of shame about themselves, feeling unworthy of love, feeling like there's something defective about them. So that creates the desire to want to escape from those feelings. So that can often cause people to develop an addiction. Whereas there are plenty of people who develop an addiction not based on feelings of any shame. But then what happens is that as a result of the things that they do, often to seek their drug, the things that they do while they're in active addiction, they feel a lot of shame about. And so what happens is that feeling of shame can often create a vicious cycle of relapse. So I feel bad about me, and so I wind up acting out and picking up that drink or that drug in order to not feel those feelings. And so it's really, really important because the typical reaction by most people is to act out rather than reach out. So you can apply this to all sorts of issues, not just substance abuse or substance addiction. If you're feeling shame in an area, people reach out to food. They reach out to unhealthy relationships. There's all different ways that people can act out. And I think of it in the terms of I'll show you, I'll hurt me. So thinking that that really applies to you when you're feeling shame. So, okay, so what are these feelings of shame? What are shame triggers? In Brene Brown's research that she did, she came up with these 12 areas of shame. And I'm not going to name all 12 of them, but I'm just going to talk about some that are very specific, I think, to people who struggle with addiction. So being labeled is a big one. I think that most people in general, addiction is a very stigmatized mental illness. So I think just in general, people who struggle with addiction have a lot of feelings of shame surrounding the fact that they struggle with addiction. And then there's areas of, if you're a parent and because of your addiction, you're not able to be the parent that you know that you're able to be. Often people have their children taken away from them. So there's lots of shame surrounding parenting. I know that when I was struggling in active addiction and my son was struggling in active addiction, there was a lot of shame surrounding my ability to be a parent, feeling like I caused it. And there's other family issues. There's money, there's career, there's religion, there's sex. So there's lots of different areas where we can experience feelings of shame. And the key to shame and addressing shame is, first of all, knowing when you're being triggered, like knowing when you're in it and when you're feeling it. And so one of the first steps towards addressing shame is identifying areas where you typically feel shame. And so we're just going to talk about, in general, let's focus on addiction, stigma of addiction. So just that alone, one of the ways in which you can go about addressing shame and reducing shame is to think about the way that feels. And this is where this gets a little dicey for people, because in order to heal shame, you're going to have to feel it. You're going to have to allow yourself to feel the shame. So when I do groups on shame, it's often very uncomfortable because people have to go to that place of feeling those feelings, which is very uncomfortable. But the key is being able to move through those feelings and become more self-compassionate. So one of the exercises that I ask people to do is to write about a shame experience, write about an actual experience of a time where they felt very shameful, and then to write a letter to themselves after you've written about the actual shame experience, to write a letter to yourself as a compassionate friend, pretending that you are a compassionate friend to yourself and writing a letter to yourself, being that compassionate friend. What would that friend say to you about that experience? And so this is where the whole idea of reaching out rather than acting out is so key. Reaching out to others for support, for empathy, is key to helping to reduce shame. And also becoming more self-compassionate is really, really important. So this can apply to anybody who experiences especially high levels of shame, because shame is universal. Everyone experiences shame to one degree or another, but when you experience very, very high degrees of shame, it's not only create this vicious cycle of relapse over and over again, because I feel bad about myself, about what I've done, and so instead of moving forward and just moving through those feelings, I pick up a drink or a drug in order to cope with those feelings of shame. And where I think it's really, really critical in terms of having an awareness of the impact of shame is with our loved ones who are struggling with addiction. Because I just see so many times, family members, it's understandable that family members and loved ones are going to be really upset about the behaviors that people do when they're in active addiction. I mean, it's often very, very painful. And so it's typical that people will get angry. But what I am suggesting is that you try to approach that person with love and understanding, because it's really the love and the compassion that is going to help the person to heal. They're not going to heal through condemnation, through labeling, through people name calling, telling them that they're worthless. That's going to create more of an issue than anything else. And so what I'm suggesting is not that you're approving of the behavior, not even that you're loving the behavior, hate the behavior, but focus on the behavior, okay? Because the behavior is what is going to help you to help that person to get into treatment, to seek help. But if you're focusing on the person and you're labeling the person and you're identifying them as being the issue and not the addiction, then you're creating more stigma and more shame and actually making it much more difficult for that person to get well. So the exercise of being your own compassionate friend is one, and another one is definitely identifying the different areas where you feel the most shame and becoming aware of when you're in that place of shame and practicing reaching out rather than acting out. And just even having that awareness in your mind, I think, is really helpful in that, you know what, I'm not going to hurt me. I'm not going to continue in this self-abusive relationship. I'm going to reach out to somebody, a friend, definitely a supportive friend, and share what I'm feeling with them in order to help me to move through it. So the final piece that I want to share with you that I think is so critical and important to understand is that in my research that I conducted, I measured internalized shame, and I measured relapse risk, and I measured psychological well-being. And what I did is I compared my relapse prevention program group with a treatment as usual group in an outpatient addiction treatment facility. And so what I found, it wasn't so important in terms of, I did find that the relapse prevention that involved my relapse prevention program incorporates shame reduction as a part of the program. And I found that absolutely the patients who participated in the relapse prevention program that included shame reduction did better than the treatment as usual group, significantly better. But that's not the important piece. What's important is whether you were in the treatment as usual group or you were in the relapse prevention group, that every single person who had high levels of internalized shame also was at high risk for relapse and had low psychological well-being. And what happened is that over time, as the shame was able to be reduced, the relapse risk went down and the psychological well-being went up in every single situation. And so it was very highly correlated. So shame is highly correlated with relapse risk and psychological well-being. So if we can target that shame and work on the shame, we're going to reduce the relapse risk and we're going to improve the psychological well-being. So I recommend that you read anything that you can get your hands on by John Bradshaw or Brené Brown, because the sooner that you can start to address your shame triggers, and reduce the shame that you're experiencing, the better off you're going to be, the less at risk you're going to be for relapse, and the higher your psychological well-being. Namaste.
So hopefully I have gotten a little bit better since 2018. Something that I notice when I go back and I watch these older videos, especially in the very beginning, like this one, is that my Long Island accent, my New York accent, I can really hear it in the earlier videos. And as you may have noticed, I'm totally oblivious to my cat who is scratching on the door throughout that video. So thank you for watching. And as you, I'm sure, noticed at the end there, I have some new books some books that were recently released. The relapse prevention book, Fostering Resilience for Relapse Prevention, just came out in June, and the Universal 12-Step book and my Seeds of Serenity Sobriety Edition just came out on my sober anniversary, which was July 20th, just a couple of days ago. And I also included at the end there a freebie, which is a 7-day Seeds of Serenity download. It's not exactly the same as the Seeds of Serenity book, the devotional books, the series that I am writing. So I'm on volume 4 at this point. So there's the original Seeds of Serenity, there's volume 2, which is Sobriety Edition, and then in August I have the Anger Edition coming out. And so there's a freebie there, the 7-day download, which I hope you'll take advantage of, and as my way of thanking you for watching this video. And I hope you found something beneficial. I wish you a very beautiful, blessed, and a sober day today, and I hope you'll join me again in the next video.